Hey guys, I'm just getting StreamYard going. Um, okay, so wanted to follow up. Normally this would be a deal analysis time frame. God, I got to figure out my lighting so I don't have all this haloing, but whatever. Anyway, but I wanted to cover a procedural process conversation and really what we call transaction coordinating because that has set a couple of our deals off in little spirals. And I wanted to show you guys what's involved on that side. So, transaction coordinating is just what it sounds like. It is the process of keeping the transaction on track, literally coordinating the transaction um, throughout the process. And what I'm doing here is I'm looking for some emails on a related transaction to show you. So normally that is fairly simple railroad, I guess. We sign with the seller, we sign with the buyer. Buyer puts their money in deposit. Buyer, if there is due diligence, it's done. Title is done. We go to closing, and life goes on. Um, Normal isn't really popular. There's always something going on. So the transaction coordination role, which is something you guys will be taking over, we're transitioning to the point where we have enough control and you guys can start doing it on your deals. Um, is watching every email that comes in, being copied on everything in and out on every transaction, um, to make sure that everyone's requests are taken care of. To do things like contact the municipality and find out if there are pre-sales inspections that have to happen. If there are, make sure that someone is doing them, whether that's us, someone, buyer, someone, seller, someone's doing it. Someone's responding to um, everything at this point. So, um, that process is important. And let me kind of walk you through. There's no real visual for this. I'm trying to think of a good visual, but let me walk you through what that looks like. So we sign with the seller. Um, okay, so from the beginning, you guys have worked the seller to the point that we're signing them, in theory. Um, and hey, Nair, how you doing?
How you doing? What's going on?
Oh, there you are. I got to turn my audio on. There we go.
Yep.
Right. So I'm just covering. I'll kind of finish this part of it before I forget. So transaction coordinating, what we should have had you doing on Garfield, what we're going to have you guys do moving forward is TC is keeping the trains on the track, basically. TC is making sure it's production manager, whatever you want to call it. It's making sure things get where they need to go. And so that involves us doing what we didn't do for you on Garfield, which is including you in every email. And you taking every email and saying, hey guys, I've called Garfield City and they have a pre sales inspection. Who do I assign that to? How do I get that done? So you'll eventually know who that answer is, but and then we get buyer, seller, someone gets that done.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, buyer has gone ahead and hired a new buyer's agent. She's now demanding all this extra stuff. What do I do with that? Or, title is asking for seller docs or something, buyer docs, da, 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 and either coming to us and saying, how do I get them? Or simply by at a certain point, you'll know how to get them. So you're the conductor of the train. You're keeping,
Gotcha.
we're all copied on it. You're keeping us aware and you're texting us and saying, hey, there's something over here. But that way, it's not up to me, Ryan, to remember, oh crap, in the slew of everything else, there's this. Uh,
Gotcha.
and also, it gets a little bit complicated, like Garfield, which is right now, by the way, on Garfield, I haven't heard from anybody today, except Jesse from the title company said something that amounted to she has everything she needs and she's having it reviewed by her upstairs office. I've not heard from the lender from that other question, so I'm going to assume the lender is dealing with Danielle on they asked a bunch of questions, which they should have asked 2 months ago.
Mm.
So at this point, I'm taking a day off from Garfield and saying, you know what, we've pushed the rock up the hill, and hopefully Jesse's email seemed positive that in the next day or so we would have some sort of a resolution. Not necessarily closing, but whatever. So I'm backing off on everybody for today.
Got you.
But basically, in a lot of these transactions, some of them go super smooth. This one is the world record of, whatever that race is where cars brake all the way as they cross the sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
And what happens in these, very rarely, one title company we work with had a rule: if you don't reply to the same email chain, they don't even read the other email you send them. They're like, we send out our email chain with all of our identifying numbers in the subject line. Don't change the subject line. Just hit reply all and do it, because they just want one track to look at. Well, Garfield went crazy. There was this Danielle person. So the TC's job, your job, and eventually there will be you and a TC. But the TC's job is, the person running the deal's job, I should say, the agent's job, is to just keep a pulse of it and be like, all right, lender sent an email that wasn't in the regular chain, didn't copy the right people, and ask this question. So let me paste it to the right people, and let me figure out who needs to answer that question and get it done. Like right now, some deals that Ryan and I are working on, the title company has been the train wreck in the equation, which is very unusual for them, actually. And now it's like, okay, well, we signed all the documents 3 days ago. Where's our money? When's this thing getting closed? Which, have they actually brought parties into a room and gotten it done? So that's the job of coordinating a transaction, is just whatever is asked for, needed for. And also, same time, you're checking our checklist. And you're saying, did we get a seller disclosure signed? Did we get a buyer disclosure signed? Did we get this? Do we have all of our documents in a row? Is there anything we want? And on this title company that has 4 deals from us, who I know the owner quite well, and they've just gotten overwhelmed and they've dropped a lot of balls. They've sent us so many versions of HUDs that have been in every one of them just slightly wrong.
Right.
Most of them forgetting we exist and not paying us. And they sent us one on Friday that was perfectly right. Everything was fine. Finally, yay. And then they sent one yesterday that was for the exact same transaction that was wrong. And they're like, this is the one the seller signed. And I'm like, oh, better not have been the one the seller signed. So part of your job as the agent, and also the TC's job when I bring them on board, is to just look over the HUDs. And we will teach you what every line of the HUD means, but there's certain things that I never check that deeply, like the tax proration. There's 3 different taxes in Luzerne County. They're all taxed on different days. So how many days on each tax calendar is left? Oh, there's 3 different calendars. I'm not doing that. So I'm scanning that, and does that feel right? Yeah, fine. But I'm looking for the big stuff. Did they get the purchase price to the seller right? Did they get the purchase price to the buyer right? Do they have our commission in there? Do they have, like in the case of Garfield, there's that investment company. Do they have them covered in there? Did they charge the seller for this new buyer's agent commission? We haven't seen a HUD there. We're not there yet. So we're looking over those things. And so your job in transaction coordinator is sort of traffic cop. And eventually and your job as agent is doing a lot more than traffic cop. So your job is kind of blended. But, the biggest thing is, okay, I've looked at it. I've made sure everyone knows what it's needed. And if it's something you're ready to handle, great. Check with us and handle it, or just eventually just handle it. And that's a big part of the transactions. That's a huge part of it. Is just sort of keeping the trains on the track, making sure that everything goes in. And when I train next Tuesday on the CRM, making sure that everything goes into the CRM filing software correctly, making sure that everything goes in, is filed properly, for 2 reasons. One of the reasons we're spending so much time making this CRM change, and the reason it's taking so long, is because we're going to have one document directory for everything. Second reason is so we can just say, oh, we need the purchase and sale agreement for this property 3 years ago. Here it is. Second reason is that if the state were ever to audit us, then I need to be able to open the file. And I'll be perfectly honest, I expect a state audit on Garfield, even though it's not a Pennsylvania license transaction, because I expect the buyer's agent is going to be a jerk. She hasn't made any mentions of that, but she's also not been very cooperative. And the reality in my world is, and like we've had an overhead conversation before, is it's not did the company spend the overhead on this particular deal. It's the fact that, any moment now I could get a knock on the door and there's a state officer wanting to see every file I have or every piece of paper I have on whatever file. So part of your job as the operator, as the agent being a licensed term, operator, I don't know, whatever we call you guys, is your job is to do it. The TC's job is to make sure it's done. The broker's job is to double check it. And there's actually kind of 4 layers there. There's you, the TC, Ryan, and me. But, Ryan and I kind of work somewhat interchangeably. Hang on, I think somebody's calling my phone. Hang on one second.
Okay.
This is Steve. Sorry. Anyway. All right. So basically, where did I leave off? Sorry, that call was distracting.
The transaction coordinator's job and just keeping everything aligned.
Yeah. So pretty much that's pretty much the job, and we have checklists for everything, and we have work, steps and whatever. So we'll be trained. On your next transaction, we're going to train you on that. But the biggest thing is to keep it all moving.
Gotcha.
Other thing is to monitor. Okay, so for a guy like you who's doing everything, which is great, we want to, this is really applies to you. Okay, the deal came in, we signed it with the seller, someone's marketing it. You might be the guy marketing it, somebody else is marketing it. But the person whose deal it is, usually you're the one marketing it. The person whose deal it is in charge of kind of watching that deal and watching the clock. That's the other big job of a transaction coordination and also of an agent or an operator, is watching the clock and saying, hey, we have a 4-week timeline on this transaction. We're 2 weeks in, and we've done nothing. We have 3 weeks in, we've done nothing. We're whatever, we've done nothing. Meaning the deal has, number one, did the deal get posted? I'm literally thinking of one right now that Jose didn't post yet for a few days, and the clock is just burning while it's not listed. And then, okay, it's been listed for a week and we haven't gotten any calls. Do we want to rethink the price? Do we want to rethink this? Do we want to rethink that? Whether it's, week, month, year, whatever. Okay, great. Well, we have these people who have expressed interest. Have we taken them through the process of, getting their proof of funds, getting them verified, checking them out, taking them to the property, getting to see the property, whatever that might all boil down to.
Right.
And so running all of that's the other part of the, it's a lot of the minutia. And as I think you've experienced with the William process, is that the first thing a buyer wants to do is see the property. The third thing we want the buyer to do is see the property. The first thing we want the buyer to do is show us they actually have the wherewithal to buy.
Right.
I have a single family flip that I did over the summer that's frankly not selling that well for some reason. that someone texted me, I'm really interested. I really want to buy the house. Great. How do you plan to pay for it? He said, well, I want to come out and see it, and then I can look into getting a lender. I said, no. He's like, what do you mean? I said, next time I'm going to be there, I'll let you know, but I don't go to properties for people who aren't ready to buy. He's like, but how do I know? I said, you go to a bank, you get pre-approved, then you call me. He's like, well, I want to sell or finance. Great. What are your financial situations? Well, I want to see the property first. Again, I don't. So part of it is making sure the buyer is legit and ready.
Right.
Yeah, and so on and so forth. So basically that's part of the process. So the keeping a process on the rails, and also frankly, well, that's hugely important because one of the things that has sucked so badly in Garfield and a couple others is that we screwed up and didn't. You wouldn't have been able to do it on Garfield because you aren't trained yet, but you only get trained by doing it. So it's kind of like whatever. But after a while, Ryan and I don't even need to study those emails. They can, you'll let us know what's there. So that's a big part of it. And then each phase has its set of checklists. So that's a big part of the transaction. Now, the other thing that we wanted to cover, and we're going to be doing another video of this right after. If people can't stay, that's fine. I got 4 or 5 people listening in. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about is when we need, when is it, and this is really not critical path for you because Ryan and I do it, but when is it the brokerage firm and when is it not the brokerage firm? Short version is we always treat it like it's the brokerage firm because I always treat it like whatever I'm doing, the state could walk in the door. But anything Pennsylvania units 1, 2, 3, and 4 is absolutely the brokerage firm. Anything Pennsylvania probably is the brokerage firm, meaning Guerrilla Real Estate. Anything outside of that is Hunting for Homes. So just when you hear us use the 2 brand names, because the lender did ask us, they're like, what's with Hunting for Homes and Guerrilla? I said, in this case, it's Hunting for Homes because it's out of Pennsylvania. So don't get confused. Hunting for Homes is our off-market, unlicensed company. Guerrilla Real Estate is our licensed company.
Right.
The PA broker license. Now, do you have any questions?
I mean, no, you pretty much answered because everything you told me, I had like a little inkling about. So you pretty much answered it. So I'm pretty solid on it now. So basically, we'll be moving forward with keeping me in the loop with everything and making sure because like I said, I have no problem doing that. I just want to make sure that that's how we'll be moving forward from.
Yeah, and really Garfield, we hadn't figured out how we were going to handle that at this point. I mean, and frankly, it just kind of went sideways. And I'm just scrolling back because Ryan actually had a question he wanted me to bring up on the call. Okay, yeah, and so I mean, this is so that's how we handle our transactions. So the process on our transactions, just to recap, how everything will start running on Tuesday. Over the weekend, we'll get you guys your signups to the CRM. Get you all your logins. We're going to walk through it on Tuesday. Now, I don't expect it's going to like lightning bulb change on Tuesday, but I'd like it to kind of head in that direction. Well, it's kind of weird as people walk behind me, they kind of show up in the background. But everything is going to happen in the CRM. Buyers, sellers, prospective properties, everything is going to happen inside the CRM. And then we go through everything, basically literally we're going to live inside the CRM. And the checklists are going to be in the CRM. This may not be next week, but the guy's going to build them in over the next few weeks. So everything's in the CRM. So we're going to have the agents, you, legally not a licensed agent yet, but whatever. You're going to run your transaction. Ryan and I are going to step back into a managerial role. Yes, initially you're going to be asking us every damn thing. What I have to get better at, because I'm a horrible delegator, is not just doing it, but having you do it. Or if it's just easier to do it, say, hey, listen, I did this, and here's why I did it. But basically, that way, eventually, you'll bone up to doing all of it. And the forms are going to be set up so that, and this might be the first or second week in November. The forms are going to be set up so that if you only enter part of the information, and I don't know how he's exactly setting this up, but it won't let you submit the form. It'll say save as incomplete or something like that. If not all the answers are there, that doesn't mean we can't look at it. Like, you're not going to have, whatever, but it won't move to the next phase. Like, prospective property won't move to preparing an offer until we have all the details, until somebody, you, me, otherwise, have put in all the details. And that way we make sure that we collect everything we need. We can't necessarily go off and whatever. So we're going to live inside the CRM, and eventually the CRM is going to do our deal analysis.
Okay.
As we mentioned, I think previously, and I just want to make sure this is covered, is if you want to research a market like Tulsa and what would something theoretically be work for, and hey, Steve, do we think this market will work? Absolutely, all day long, that's fine. But I think you sent me the Tulsa thing, but we hadn't actually talked to the seller yet.
Yeah.
We don't want to go deep because there's just too many houses in the market.
Right.
So you can say, hey, I'm seeing a lot of land in Tulsa that looks like there might be some good reason to look at it. We'll look at it from a is this a good market standpoint. But in terms of, is this particular land worth it? Is this particular property worth it? Really needs a seller involved, because otherwise we could say, hey, this is a phenomenal deal, go get it. But just like that multi-unit that foreclosure.com sent you in Philly, never got anywhere.
Right.
So we spent a lot of time looking at something, and then we couldn't get to the other side. Now, why foreclosure.com sent something else they couldn't deliver, I don't know, but whatever.
Okay.
Did Tulsa or Tamaqua go anywhere?
No, I called both Tulsa and Tamaqua within like the same day. Still no response. Left the voicemail for Tulsa, just waiting on them to call me back.
Yeah, and clearly, and I'm not surprised at that. First of all, that's the way it goes, but also Tamaqua clearly is talking to a lot of people.
Right.
So, really, it's not a.
But I was just curious because if she wanted 150 and you said that we could do it just as a person, like if you were in that situation, wouldn't you just be like, all right, well, send over the information and go from there? Because even if she goes with somebody else, wouldn't she still get what she asked for, which was the 150?
You would think, okay, so we have a property in Troop, which the guy called up, he's like, I want 120. And I looked at it, I'm like, well, in your neighborhood, 120 should be a no-brainer. Because he told me I rewired the house, I did this, I did that, the other thing. We signed it up, and I said, okay, I'm going to send you a contract. He's like, well, if you give me what I want, of course I'll sign. That was literally his statement. He's like, I'm the kind of guy, if you give me what I ask for, why am I calling anyone else? But right. We then have Tamaqua, which, interestingly enough, William's partner actually likes Tamaqua and Shenandoah and those areas. So we're going to be setting up a conversation with them shortly. We'll definitely have you on that because you're the procuring cause of William. But Tamaqua lady, she wants 150. We said, yeah, let's do it. And she doesn't call her back. We have a woman in Altoona with I don't want to say piece of junk, but she only wants $15,000 for it. And we said yes on the phone. And she said, yes, send me the contract. We sent her the contract. And she's like, I think I want to think about it for a week or so. And it's like, you asked for your number, we give you your number. Maybe that's the mistake. Maybe I don't think 150. I think 145 is about as far as we can go. Maybe you have to play the psychology game. But to me, if somebody gives me what I want, why wouldn't I take it?
Right. That's why I was confused. I was like, well, lady, you said 150, we say 150, and you don't respond. And
at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. Is really every bit of what it is. It's a numbers game. So basically, it's And that's why time spent with, and I'm not saying time spent on the Tulsa thing was a mistake, but at the same time spent with Kel, time spent with time spent when there's no seller, you know, we don't necessarily go, going somewhere can be hard. Um, Time spent when there is a seller can go nowhere too. Um, uh, Sorry, my wife just walked out and I want to see if she still want to go to lunch. Um, so yeah, and basically now here's what's here's what we have. Do you have any follow up questions to that before I go to the tools part of it?
No, no, I'm good on that, and pretty much, yeah, I don't have nothing of the sort right now. So,
Okay.
All
right. And all right. So the tools we have, and this is, I think you know most of them, but we have Land OS, we have Land OS, which is an operating system for land, and it is going to take some training because it's a very powerful and complicated, not complicated, but very powerful software. Have you been in there much?
Yeah, I've actually used it because I've compiled the list of like 28 potential commercial land leads, and I've been using it to analyze each one to see which ones will be actually worth calling. So yeah, it's actually pretty solid. You know, it tells you the potential offer to make or the potential offer to be around for it to work, and if it's over like a certain amount, why it wouldn't work and things like that. You know, because I sent it, because what I did the other day with the Tulsa deal was I took a picture of what everything was on PropStream, and it basically was like, yeah, this is all wrong. PropStream is not showing you the dirt value; it's just showing you the value of what it's worth in that area. And when in reality, the dirt value is worth like 400,000.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, so it really going into details and things like that about it. So I was like, okay, yeah, I will definitely be using this. And then I use it on the commercial land batch, and
Yeah.
I literally uploaded the CSV file, and it analyzed every single property and went through which ones are good, which ones are okay, which ones you could not okay, but you could still try, but they will only work if you would get it at this price. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a pretty solid. It's pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was.
All right. All right. So we have that. We have batch leads,
Mm-hmm.
which is a residential, and I'm just going to rattle through them just for everybody else. And then what you and I will do is we'll kind of pause for a second, see when Ryan's around, and we'll restart the second training when Ryan's around, the second piece of it when Ryan's around.
Gotcha.
But probably hopefully very soon. But anyway, we have that. We have batch leads, which we have passwords for. And I'm bringing these up because like I've mentioned them on a couple calls, and nobody's on batch leads. Like they've never called me and said, "Hey, what's the password to batch leads?" So it's like, okay, well, obviously no one's using it. And the reason I'm saying that is because I don't care how you guys are getting leads.
Well,
Okay,
I've been using it, so
I
me
know you have, yeah. Yeah.
this.
This is aimed at you. I'm just because you're
Oh,
here I'm picking
gotcha.
on you, but I'm saying, batch leads, you have PropStream, great, but batch leads or a PropStream type tool. We right now have Crexi Intelligence for commercial and self storage. We're probably dumping Crexi and investing in, unless you've been using it for something. We're probably going over to Tract IQ, which is a self storage specific software for doing that stuff. And whether we keep um, whether we keep Crexi or not, I don't know. But so we have a self storage, we have a commercial software, we have a residential software, we have a land software, and we have a specific self storage software.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever sector somebody wants to study, and these are all national packages, we have the tools and we'll walk you through that. And you can do bandit sign. Actually, next week is CRM training. Probably next Thursday is going to be on bandit signs, mailers, and things like that. Because some of our postcards will be back, and I can show you some of that stuff. But the point is, whatever method people want to market at, they can market at that method. And so, we can connect you with that method. And so basically, any way you guys want to be reaching out to sellers, we can do. And so that's really what I need now to hear back from people is that people will reach out to me and say, hey, I don't have access to, like, I just literally just got a message from Demetrius saying, hey, I don't have access to Batch IQ. Please get me in there. Or to Batch Lead. Please get me in there. So, so basically what I'm saying is this is the time, and this is the biggest challenge, because guys, listen, there is no part of this that isn't self-driven. We can have 1,000 people in your role, agent, deal finder, whatever. But if people aren't going out and seeking out the deals, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So, whatever methodology people, this is sort of my call for action for people to say, hey, and then again, not pointing at you, we talk a lot, we certainly talk more. But let me know where you want to get started in doing in doing these deals. Where you want to get started in finding your sellers. Now, in the last couple minutes, because I want to wrap this up so we can regroup with Ryan. Private lending, asset-based lending, all that lending, that's another category. If you have interest in marketing lending, in going out and saying, hey, investors, I have DSCR, I have this, I have that, reach out to me. Very important, though, I offer a menu, but I don't want you guys I don't want it to be squirrel method. I don't want to be, shiny thing, because that won't work. You've got to be like, all right, I really think that I have time, I really think that I love real estate and I want to do real estate property transaction stuff. But meanwhile, I can post on Facebook and bring in some lending leads, or I want to focus on lending leads, whatever. But basically, it's there. It's a menu. Education, reselling my education package, which I'm launching December 1st, is a menu. It's there. You want to know more about it? You want to know more about doing it? Let me know. Right now, I'm writing up 2 or 3 DSCR loans through my broker package with that broker, and they're mine. They're my own deals. So like I'm writing them up as a broker because then I get paid on my own damn deal. The commission on that deal would be around 1.5, so around $1,500, $1,500, and we'd be splitting it. So this isn't like several $1,000s, but at the same time, if you've got five hours into something and it paid you $500, that ain't a bad deal. So the other ways of making money are private lending and education, which are just getting things into our funnel and sort of the same thing as transaction coordinating, which it's somewhat a lot simpler because we're dealing with a borrower and a lender. Those are our constituents, and a borrower, lender, and title company. All right. So, any questions? Anything I missed, or should I just check with Ryan and we'll regroup with you later?
I mean, I just had one question because I remember us talking about the batch leads, the ID thing. Do you want me to make my own thing? Because I see that it's multiple.
You already have one.
Things. Yeah. Well, when I log in, it goes to like your thing.
Right. But if you look, I made you one. So yes,
then I must have not checked it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So next time you go in, because this is actually why I'm getting blocked on it right now. If you go under the SF in the upper right corner, and back in there under profile, it'll say users, and you have a user for you.
Got you.
So I'd like you to move over to that user because right now you're using my user because I know there are many. And
Gotcha.
like now, I want to go in and add Demetrius, and I can't get in because I think you're in, or somebody.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I figured. I was like, well, okay. It must be me and him might be swapping back and forth.
Yeah. So if you can just jump in there, and if you have any problems, whatever. I think you're in there with one, but set yourself up with one and just start using that one.
Got you. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
That's it. All right.
I mean, good deal.
Okay. Cool. Are we going to double back with Ryan?
Yeah. Well, as soon as I hang up here, I'll check with Ryan and I'll text you back and see when we get all get together.
Got you. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks. Bye-bye.